Hey guys, Joe Madden here, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Joined this afternoon by Taylor Mathis. Girl needs no introduction at all. Content creator for Superbook, host at Osimo. Taylor, how's the day treating you so far? And welcome to the show.
Good morning. It's great so far. How are you?
I'm doing incredible. The sun is shining there. How's it down in Arizona?
Oh, real hot. It's starting to get real hot here. We're starting to head into the summer months of Arizona. So every day is pretty much go to the pool day because if you're outside, there's no way to bear it. Otherwise, it's like 104 degrees.
You can't complain about that. There's nothing better. I said it yesterday than living in sundresses, sitting by that pool, Taylor. I know you enjoy that as well.
Oh, I do. I love it. It's the best.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's hear how you got into this industry because you are just crushing it over there. How did you start?
Well, thank you. So are you. I pretty much got into the industry. Really, I started more kind of the traditional route. I went to school for sports broadcasting at the University of Iowa. And then my first job, pretty much out of college, I worked for a local TV station in Iowa doing sports reporting and anchoring. Then my next job after that was in a really small town in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska called Kearney. And I covered Husker sports and a lot of high school sports too. I covered rodeo, bowling, like literally anything that you can think of for a local TV station out there as well. So I went the traditional route. Then I kind of started to realize I was like, well, maybe I want to go a little bit more digital. I don't really know if I want to stay in the cookie cutter structure of working in the local TV station industry because that is a grind, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Made very little money and I worked 24/7. So being digitally, like you can make your own hours, you don't have to leave your house as much, things like that. There's a lot more benefits to it. So I pretty much ended up going from Nebraska then to working for a digital company out of Dallas called Chat Sports, covering all NFL for about a year. And then I came to beautiful Scottsdale here in Arizona and I sideline reported for a company covering the Phoenix Suns for 2 seasons. And then COVID happened and I got laid off. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, I'm out of a job. So I ended up creating my own podcast and it was very sports centric, I guess, focused, but at the same time, we had athletes on to talk about their dating lives. So there was like a fun spin on having guests on. So it turned out really well, went really great. We had some great sponsors. And then as time went on, we started talking a little bit of sports betting when my host and I would come on the podcast. And a company called Bet Karma came across me doing this and they asked if I would want to, start doing content creation for them and focusing on sports gambling and sports betting. And I was like, I don't even know really the first thing about it because my co-host Jared was really the one that took the reins and
Yeah.
I would kind of just be like the filler per se. And then finally, I was like, if I'm going to get into this, I need to go full fledged, like full force into it. So Bet Karma gave me my first like break into sports betting. And now from here on out, I am like fully immersed in the entire thing. I absolutely love it. I think I love it more than I've loved sideline reporting or anchoring or anything like that. And now I'm with Superbook and Osimo, and I love it.
Well, you're doing incredible over there, Taylor. I love that story. Where did the passion for sports come from?
So that's also, I'm like, I'm about to give you a long one here, but to make a long story short, I grew up as a big time theater kid. I sang my whole life and I did theater. So I was always very comfortable being on stage and like being in front of people. But I was very shy though, which was weird. So like when I was on stage, it was like everybody would be like, oh my gosh, that's the girl like from high school who like is so quiet and doesn't really say much. But then I get up and like perform and people would be like, whoa, where did that come from? I actually got voted shyest when I was in high school. So like
No way.
which I did like a 180 when I got to college
Yep.
because then I was like, I'm not going to be shy anymore. Things are going to be different. But I was very quiet. When I was 5, my grandparents took me to my first Cubs game and I absolutely fell in love with it. I think that my grandpa thought my cousin Austin, he was going to be the one that was more obsessed with like the experience of being at a baseball game, but it ended up being me. He taught me how to do a scorecard. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was so hooked on the Cubs from then on out. I was like, I watched every game. My sister and I would like, we made up cheers for every player when they'd like come up to bat in the lineup. And I was so obsessed with learning and focusing everything on Cubs and baseball. So that's like how I got into sports. And then as I was in high school, my grandpa always said to me, he was like, you would be so good at going into journalism or doing sports broadcasting. And I was just always like, I mean, maybe, I don't really know. And he's like, I feel like you could put your love of, you know, being in front of people, talking, that type of thing, mixed in with like your love of specifically baseball and football is kind of where I started with sports. And I thought about it. And then when I actually got to college, I was like, you know, he might have something here. He might be right about this. So that's kind of how I got into the industry. I give a lot of props to my grandpa for pushing me in that direction.
That is amazing. He pushed you in that direction. Now, from following you on socials, I know you have a very tight knit family. Your mom, your sister.
Yes.
Is your family super competitive, Taylor?
I would say I'm the most competitive probably out of my entire family. I'm very, I feel like I'm like that when it comes to, my sister always talks about Easter egg hunting around our house when we were little. And it's only her and I. So there's only two of us. I don't have that many people to push out of the way, just one. So I was like, she always talks about, still, my mom is very big on like tradition. So if I ever do come back for Easter, which I don't go back for Easter as much as I used to, but when I do, my mom still is like, girls, we're doing the Easter egg hunt. And I'll like act like I don't want to do it because I'm older. And I'm like, oh, mom, like, do we really have to do this? Blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, all right, ready, set, go. And I am like shoving my sister out of the way to get the most eggs and win. So I would say I'm the most competitive. I think my dad is probably where I get that from the most. I grew up sports wise, like playing sports. My sister and I competitively cheered our whole lives. And my mom also cheered. So that was kind of, she got us into that when we were younger. And I competitively cheered from the age of 5 until I was 18. So I cheered my entire life. That was like kind of where I got my competitive nature, but I was never like, I didn't play softball or basketball or anything like that growing up. I pretty much solely stuck to competitive cheerleading. And then another good example of competitiveness too, it's like specifically really with my sister. She's 2 years younger than me. She was an incredible gymnast when we were younger. My mom put us both in a gymnastics like class. And after 2 days, they called my mom and left a voicemail saying like, Kylie needs to be moved up to the next level because she's way past this. Like, she's too advanced. We want to move her up. They're like, Taylor's fine. She can stay in this. And I quit because
I bet you did.
I quit because I was so mad that my younger sister was better than me. I was like, I can't deal with this. And I look back on that and I'm like, God, Taylor, you were such a baby. Like, you were such a quitter. You should have stuck with it, but it's all right. I ended up finding my niche more in theater and competitive cheering anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love those stories. And I didn't know that you were a competitive cheerleader. I love that. My daughter is one. It's a hard sport. And if people don't realize it, yeah, such a hard sport.
People don't realize it. They think like I like hate when people say cheering's not a sport. And I'm like, if you have not watched Cheer on Netflix, it's like the epitome of what cheerleaders go through and how hard it is on your body, how much work it is. And like also like how difficult it is. Like people don't realize like throwing people up in the air and flipping and stuff like that is not like humanly normal. So it's so fun. I'm still very into paying attention to competitive cheer and watching it. I still absolutely love it.
Well, we're going to have to meet up when you're in Orlando for the Worlds. That would be a lot of fun.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Yeah, I was supposed to go 2 years ago before the dreaded C word hit because my daughter actually made it. Their team made it down to the Worlds, but was not able to make it.
That's amazing. Are they going to get to go? Do you think they'll make it this year?
Fingers crossed. Let's hope.
I'll cross my fingers for her too. That's so exciting.
Thank you, Taylor. Okay, Taylor, tell me more about what you have going on at Superbook and Awesemo.
So Superbook wise, right now, I'm kind of go by the prop princess, you know, in the gambling space. I focus mainly on props, and I went on a great heater all through March where I lost 5 bets total the entire month. I got real lucky because, I mean, you know, in gambling, it's 50-50. You go on like spurts where you are winning constantly and you're like, wow, things are great. I can't seem to miss. But then right now, I am on such a downward spiral. I feel like in May, I pretty much went 50-50. I think I hit the same amount of props as I did that I lost. And already I'm like, to start out June right now, I think yesterday I only went 1 for 3. So I didn't do great. The only bet that I ended up hitting, and it wasn't even a prop, was Celtics +4.
Nice.
So that one hit. But my K prop I had yesterday, and I don't know what happened, but Jordan Poole really let me down. I was like, over 2.5 assists. That's an easy one. Like, he's gone over that in 4 out of his last 5. It was extremely juiced up too. So I was like, to start for game 1, I'm going to give a for sure prop that I know is hitting. No, he had 2 assists. He had 2 assists, did not hit that over 2.5 number. So really disappointed, but I'm like, today I'm hoping I'll come back with something better. So with Superbook, I give a top prop of the day, usually every single day throughout the week. And then I also am hosting a Twitter Spaces show with Superbook as well. And it's turning out to be super fun. And we're getting regulars in there every day now. I go on and give my plays and best picks, and people come on and give theirs. We're now running a big spreadsheet with everybody's records, winning percentages. It's becoming really fun. And I feel like we're growing a really good community with this Twitter Spaces show. And then with Superbook too, I do a lot of different, if we have events that we're doing, like when UFC was out here, we did a really awesome, fun event with Superbook with some of the fighters. So I got to go out there, do some hosting, do some reporting, things like that. And then of course I get to go to Vegas every now and then as well at our amazing sports book in Vegas. I think biggest sports book that exists in Vegas physically is Superbook. It's, if you have not been there, it's like the mecca of sports betting. So it's awesome. And then with Awesemo, I do a lot of prop show hosting, and we're actually starting something new today. I will be doing a pick of the day, video pick of the day every single day that the NBA finals are not happening. So it's going to be baseball eccentric focused with Awesemo as well. So that's what I'll be doing right after we get done with this.
Well, that's awesome, Taylor. I'm excited for your new show. I'm going to check out your Twitter Spaces with Superbook. I didn't know you guys were running that. So
yes,
that's
you should get on.
Hear.
Give us your picks of the day. It's super fun. I'm like, we only started it about 2 weeks ago, but it's going great so far, and I'm loving doing it.
That is incredible. I'm so glad to hear it. Now, Taylor, if people are looking to follow you on socials, I know you have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I'm sure you have the rest. Where can they find you?
So Twitter and TikTok, it's going to be Math Sports. And then my Instagram is Shy Sports Chick. And people are like, Shy? What does Shy mean? Like Chicago Sports Chick, because I'm from Illinois. I grew up in the Chicago area. Got my little background here so everybody can see. So Chicago sports have always been a big focus of mine. So that's where the name comes from.
Fantastic, Taylor. Well, you guys make sure you go give Taylor Mathis a follow. She's putting out incredible content. You don't want to miss out. Taylor, thank you so much for coming on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. We'll definitely have you back on anytime you're available.
Yes. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you too. Have a good one, Taylor.
You too.
Thank you.